we're potting. We're potting.
Yeah, we actively are.
Oh, are we live?
We're live.
That's hysterical.
Are we live? It's podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the Where Were
That's
We
the intro.
podcast.
Whoa. What is up, everybody? Yes, episode 5.
Indeed.
That is at Seaside Mike 1. I am at Mocha_AF. This is at Where Were We Pod, all on Twitter and all on all your favorite platforms, and a few more coming soon.
Absolutely.
That's the best way. That's the best intro I got.
Yeah, I'm still working on a couple things. We'll get that squared away, but we're happy with the reception we've gotten, or whatever reception we've gotten so far. But we're hungry for more.
We're hungry for more. Oh.
So tell your friends. This should be a good ride.
Tell your friends.
Episode 5.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, it's episode 5. And we actually have no material prepared for today. Bomb. Nah, I'm kidding. It's gonna be a good show. We got some high hope topics here, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
Some of these topics, I feel like it'll only be responsible of us if we revisit them later, as well as talking about them now.
Such as the Avengers.
Exactly.
Because Endgame is coming out this week.
Yes, it is.
And I gotta say, I'm not going to see it until May 1st, so please no spoilers.
That is a mistake, because they're already trying to spoil the movie for you right now.
Oh.
Have you been seeing these articles about like the first 17 minutes?
No, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I haven't looked at anything because I'm smart.
I haven't read any of these spoilers. I just get angry every time I see, the first 17 minutes of Avengers have been leaked. And today I just saw a spoiler-free review of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, which is like the dumbest thing I could ever comprehend ever. No, so I hate people who ruin movies, especially ones that are so epically talked about, like something in the Marvel universe, specifically. People do it all the time, but I am extremely good at avoiding spoilers. I'll tell you why. I normally have like Marvel notifications on like all the different channels and stuff turned on Twitter and all that stuff. I turn them off. I don't get on Twitter until I see the movie, which is like extremely difficult to do, but I'm good at not doing it. I don't care about Instagram, so I'm never on there anyway. And then when it comes to like Facebook and stuff, if anybody ruins anything over Facebook, then they have no life in like 3 different ways there.
Well, did I ever tell you about how the show Prison Break was spoiled for me?
No.
So it was during college. I tweeted one day, I think I'm going to start watching Prison Break. And some random person I don't follow, I guess, was just searching Prison Break on Twitter, found my tweet, and spoiled the ending for me. So I never watched it.
Oh my god!
I called her a harlot, and I just went about my day. I was like, I guess I can't watch that.
In all my days, I have never heard somebody get called a harlot unironically. Until right now.
I don't know who it was. It was just some random person.
Dude.
Like, here's the ending to the show that you just said you were gonna watch.
Jesus.
I was like, well, I guess I'm not watching that anymore.
That's hysterical. No, speaking of things that I find funny that people ruin, are like television shows that people clearly like to watch later on because they like to skip through commercials and stuff, like Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people ruin Game of Thrones things all the time.
Oh yeah, I've heard before I started watching Game of Thrones, I knew some stuff that was gonna happen, but I was have you watched Game of Thrones?
No, and I don't care to, so like you'll never
Shame
spoil
on
anything.
you.
No, no, not
No,
shame on me.
you'll shame on you.
No,
You should
because
watch
here's the
it, 'cause
thing.
you'll like it.
Here's the thing. Everybody in my family loves Game of Thrones. Like they all love the books, they all love the show, stuff like that. Me, I tried watching season 1, episode 1 to try and start getting into it. I fucking hated it. I was like, this is not going to be nearly as good as the books are, and it's going to be a shit tier series in my opinion.
Did you read the books?
I read the first book, and then watching episode 1, season 1, and I was already like, nope. I was like, I would rather read the books, and then after you read the books, I feel like pretty much everything in the TV shows is kind of like, if it gets ruined for you and it was something that you really liked in the books, I mean, it's almost like that has a cult-like following, almost like Harry Potter and stuff like that. I know people who still won't go see the still haven't seen any of the Harry Potter movies because the books are so burned into their minds that they're like, no, I can't do it. I can't destroy the characters to myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be the same with me.
Yeah, a lot of people say that the show is better than the books, though, and which is different than usual. And also, it took me like 3 tries to get through season 1.
Oh,
And once
gotcha.
I got through it, I was like, okay, I get why this is so hype.
I mean, I don't know. I've
honestly
definitely
think you'd like it.
cuz like even my brothers have been like, "Oh, they killed off characters that like were their favorite characters and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh, well, that sounds miserable." And I
Well, yeah,
like
I
I'm
mean,
just
it's
like
you
not
get
about
attached
it,
to
you know?
characters and then they just die. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is how
like
it is.
I don't know if I would be into that. I guess I'm different about my media because like I really enjoy storylines and stuff like that. So when somebody, if I feel that some character does not get as developed of a storyline that I feel like they deserve, then to me it's like a waste. Hence, like if the Joker movie that we were talking about last week, if that ends up being shit, I'm gonna be extremely disappointed. You know what I
I'll be
mean?
upset as well. Yeah.
So,
I think that some characters, yeah, you don't get to see their full story, but part of the reason for their death is that another character can have his full story or her full story.
Gotcha. Yeah, but anyway, in general, spoilers are annoying. I'm pretty good at avoiding them.
Big annoying.
So we will talk about Endgame more in depth after both of us have seen it on May 1st. At least May 1st is when I'm going to see it. So,
Sounds good.
Yeah. Other topics on here, like on this list though, like the Disney streaming service.
Yeah, that's a perfect because
Whoa.
that movie and a lot of other movies are gonna end up on that service.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can probably wait.
No, buddy. It is so cheap.
It's dirt cheap.
And I have kids.
That's fair.
So
I could see the benefit in that.
This shit is going to be epic for me.
Yeah. I guess we should break it down for those who haven't listened.
Yes. Those who have not heard. Disney is coming out with their own streaming service, which I feel like at least people have heard that or buzzes of that because
rumors with the Netflix things happening,
with the exactly.
Shows being
they're like, why the fuck is Moana taken off of Netflix? My daughter loves that.
Why are they canceling all these Marvel shows?
Yeah, like why are they taking them all off? And then it's because the Disney streaming service. But they came out with like a what's going to be available on release of the product on November 12th. And oh my God, it looks spicy.
What are you excited for?
I am excited for a lot of things on there. I'm extremely excited though for so they're going to have a whole bunch of my old favorite Disney shows on there. That like Boy Meets World.
Is that a Disney show?
Yeah, it was a Disney show, and it's going to be on there. It's on release. It's going to be on there all the seasons.
Huh. I thought it was on. Oh, I thought it was an ABC show that Disney licensed.
No, it was originally Disney, and then they put it on ABC when they took it off of Disney because it had a little bit more adult themes than like
Disney was
when the
willing to go
new
into.
the newer Disney was going to. But then they rebooted with Girl Meets World, which is all about Corey and Topanga's daughter. Which I watched a little bit of that, and it was
Pretty
okay.
good.
It dealt with a lot of it.
It rehashed some stuff.
Yes, it rehashed some stuff, but it put it in the newer world light, I guess, which, it's fair, but like they put in some of the typical new age Disney comedy, which I was not a fan of. Like they didn't let Corey be Corey, and I don't know. It is what it is. But I am excited about that. They're also coming with That's So Raven, which I loved that show as well. So some of the TV shows are solid. They also are putting on all of The Simpsons on release.
I'm not a big Simpson guy.
I'm not either, but I know a lot of people are. And so I think that that's kind of big on release to have all The Simpsons. But I'm super excited for the new Star Wars series that they're going to come out with.
I didn't see that. What's it called? The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that.
I don't know. I'm not a Star Wars guy either.
Well, they're putting that out and all of the Star Wars movies on there, which is awesome.
It's just the first thing that they redid.
No, they're doing all of them.
Oh wow!
Every single Star Wars film is going on release. They have some other big highlights, like a majority of the Marvel movies are going to be available on release. They're going to do, I believe,
Marvel shows.
Yeah, all the new Marvel shows and all the ones that were on Netflix, I think, are also going to be available on release.
Okay.
And then they're going to have a bunch of old classic Disney movies, like the Toy Stories of the world, stuff like that, like the Pixar. Yeah. And they're starting to come out with ones that are in the vault, which means you cannot currently buy those movies because they're vaulted, like Snow White.
Oh,
like you can't
like
buy
the
Snow White, like the classic, the vaulted ones. Those are going to be available on the Disney streaming service, which is what parents are freaking out about. Because, like, if I wanted to right now, the only way I could watch Snow White is if I go buy a fucking VHS player and pull up or pirate it. But yeah. You know what I mean? Like the only way I currently have it is on VHS. So if I want to watch it, I have to own a VHS player as well, which is ridiculous. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Hawkeye's getting his own series. I guess there's Falcon and Winter Soldier getting a series.
Yeah.
Wanda and Vision, and then Loki's getting a prequel.
Exactly. Which all of that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and what I'm really excited for is I guess Marvel's having a What If series, which is like, what if the Hulk was Captain America, or like, just like random like situations like that they change the history and see what would happen.
Okay. Yeah. Also, the other big one that a lot of people were talking about is they're going to have like 250 hours worth of National Geographic stuff on there.
That is dope.
So that's pretty cool as well. Like on release.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
And they have Fox's whole back catalog.
Yeah, I mean
they have their back catalog, so that's a whole lot of content. I think it's estimated like I think it's like 500 shows, something like that.
Yeah, it's some ridiculous number, and then not only that, but like they have content upon content that they can release on their own.
Yeah.
Like for their own Disney and Pixar stuff that can just keep rolling out, and like TV shows and stuff like that. The thing that I think is going to be the biggest about this is I'm curious to see what it forces other companies who make like predominantly children and young adult type content like Disney does, like DreamWorks,
Mhm.
Illumination is the other big player. I'm curious to see what those kind of contracts end up being like. I know that DreamWorks does a lot of business with Netflix and with Hulu.
Mhm.
I believe DreamWorks also owns a part of Hulu.
That's
So
a big issue too because Disney now owns 60% of Hulu
yeah,
because now it owns Fox. So
because
now
now it
if
owns
Fox,
Fox.
yeah, now it owns Fox, and Fox was 60% a holder of Hulu. Uh, now Disney owns 60%.
And I think
So that's
that
going to be a whole issue that they're going to have to address.
yeah,
There's
it's
going to be, I'm surprised that there already hasn't been like a monopoly, like some type of like search into this because Disney owns everything, and all those
they
other
really
companies that you
do.
just named, about I feel like they're just waiting for Disney to buy them.
Pretty
They're
much. I mean,
fighting
it
until
feels
Disney
like that,
buys
right?
them. Yeah,
It really does. It
and if they
really
want, they
feels
could
like
even
that.
put ESPN on there.
I don't
Disney
see
Channel.
why they don't put all the 30 for 30s on there.
Yeah, 30
It,
for 30 is put some back catalog of First Take
they,
or like
they have
yeah,
they have a
Sports
plethora
Center.
of shows that they run on all of the extra networks that you typically have to pay extra for on your cable packages like MLB
Mm-hmm.
TV. uh
Mm.
those kind of things run shows about, like, even like ESPN Classic runs stuff about old games or fights or different things that happened that were extremely historic, and they
Mm-hmm.
have like in-depth looks from the players or the people who were involved in the events. I
Yeah.
mean, you have a gold mine worth of stuff that you can just put on this platform, and you're basically putting it at such a low price as well
That low price point is super aggressive.
that,
It's a super aggressive price
like,
point. $6.99.
how is everybody in the world not going to have that?
That's another thing though. When it comes to these streaming services, I don't even think that they're in competition.
They're
I
really
think
not.
people are willing to pay for all of them or almost all of them
Well, and
because
the
if you
other
don't pay
thing,
for one, you're losing an exclusive.
exactly, you're losing exclusives, which is huge. The other big drawback to not owning or not subscribing to one of these is, now that like Disney's pulling their stuff off,
Hmm.
it's like they're forcing you to have both, because it's not
Yeah.
like the stuff that isn't Disney owned on Netflix is going anywhere. That's staying on
Hmm.
Netflix. So you're
Yeah.
going to have to pay your.
Netflix has its own great.
Wait, you
Oh,
you cut out a little
I
bit
think
there.
now.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, I was just saying that Netflix, yeah, Netflix has its own original content that's great that people love.
Yeah,
That doesn't have anything to do with Disney.
exactly. And to address the point about Disney now owning a majority stake in Hulu, I think that they'll probably keep Hulu as well, because they have kind of the live show
They need
concept
to,
going there.
and another thing is, the Disney streaming service Disney Plus will probably not have any adult content. It'll probably be children friendly, family friendly. They could they could use Hulu essentially to put their adult content on there if they choose to have it.
That's correct.
Something like Deadpool won't ever end up on the Disney Plus service, but may end up on.
I mean, you never know, honestly. They might be able to put the stuff on the Disney Plus service and just have the age restriction concept that like Netflix does.
They could do that. They could do that.
They
I
could
just
do something like that. But I mean,
Yeah,
it also makes sense to use your Hulu resources. Why
yeah,
not?
yeah,
Why not throw
yeah.
Deadpool on Hulu and let people watch, Deadpool and like the more graphic shows like The Handmaid's Tale and the different Hulu originals and stuff like that they have as
Absolutely.
well. Like, it just makes sense to
Just
use your resources.
yeah, it just the cross advert being able to cross advertise because
Mm-hmm.
you put something adult like on your Hulu service or something that doesn't even have anything to do with you. but maybe it has similar themes to one of your adult programs. So then it's
Yeah.
recommended to you that you go watch. Hey, you should go after you watch Handmaid's Tale. You should go watch this adult Disney movie
The other
because
thing that they could do, and I see your point there, but the other thing they could do is they could bundle the subscriptions.
they could do that. I
You
mean,
you pay for a year in advance for Disney streaming service and you get 3 months off of your Hulu subscription.
wow, yeah,
They could do something like that, just like that, and then you could be like, well, it's not like I'm not going to have Hulu and
yeah.
like I want this too, so I'm going to have that for a year and I get 3 months off my Hulu. Like hell yeah,
Yeah.
like let's go.
That is similar to what Hulu does now with Spotify.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
so I could see that. They would have to, of course, clear it with their partner. Even though they're a majority partner, I think Comcast owns 30%, and the remainder 10% is. I'm
Some
not sure
other
where that
thing,
goes.
yeah. But
Yeah.
still, it's like I don't know. And the funny thing about this like monopolistic concept is
Hmm.
you see the same thing in video games too. Like
Yeah.
with their like the game launchers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like you can go on to like Epic or the Steam store or whatever and you have advertised games that are for that platform, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, we'll just use your other games that we were taking from your data here, and we'll just recommend these close by games that are also on our service. So we're going to get a
Hmm.
cut from that as well. Like, you know, it's used all over the place. And I
Absolutely.
find that to be so interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. Speaking of these launchers, what have you heard about the recent war essentially between Steam and Epic and kind of the uproar that it's causing?
So I have not heard much about this because I kind of wanted to let you talk about it and I wanted
Okay.
to almost reaction piece it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. So essentially, there's everyone knows Steam. Steam has been around forever. It's created games. It's it's a launcher. It's been able to essentially show you what type of games you want. It has a good return policies, things like that. Um, Recently, the Epic launcher, which is the one that I guess is famous for Fortnite,
Yeah.
now is getting more and more into, oh, we want to make, or we want to sell more than just do Fortnite. We have XYZ, this game, and this game, and you can only get them if you have this launcher.
Yeah.
People are upset because this launcher is not, quality wise, it's not as good of a launcher, and people just don't want to have more than one launcher. You know?
Well, it's objectively annoying to
Yes.
like, oh man, I want to play this game. Well, I have to remember to like Blizzard games are the other ones that I have, right? Like I play
Yep.
predominantly things on Steam and Blizzard.
Hmm.
So for me, it's like, well, if I want to play, you know, Hearthstone or Heroes of the Storm or World of Warcraft, I have to jump on my Blizzard launcher. If I want to
Hmm.
play Dota or Artifact or anything like that, I have to launch on my, like out of Steam. But the
Yeah.
one thing that I think we're missing here is have you used Discord's launcher?
I didn't even know they had a launcher.
Yeah, so like these days, if you're on Discord, like we're using Discord right now to talk, so I
Hmm.
can't like actually demo this. But if you open up your main page on Discord, it'll list your most recently played games that are compatible with the Discord launcher, and you can
Hmm.
launch them right from Discord.
Did not know that.
And it has cross these platforms, right? So like if I wanted to, I could launch my Destiny or I could launch my World of Warcraft or my
Mhm.
Dota all from Discord.
Yeah.
And
No,
I think that is huge
that is huge.
to
That
have
is a
one
big.
place.
I think Discord probably has not done a great job of advertising this, or
Oh
maybe
no,
to
definitely not.
to create awareness for this.
Definitely not.
Um,
It just kind of showed up one day. I noticed it and I was like, "Oh shit, I can launch my Dota from Discord?" Like,
yeah. I mean, that's awesome.
Like, what the hell?
That's an awesome feature. I don't know why Discord isn't broadcasting that. Hey guys.
Well, because Discord's predominantly a free service unless you like subscribe to the
Mhm.
like
That's
I
true. Yeah.
think you can create special channels or something like that, and you subscribe for that service to have
Mhm.
a upgraded channel, uh, which I don't even know what the benefits that provides you,
Mhm.
but I would. Oh, it provides you a dedicated server or something like that. Like you're
Yeah.
not on a shared server with other Discord servers. I think you're on your own actual server, so you have more
Mhm.
resources, I think is the biggest draw. But even so, I think that like they have a lot of features in Discord that they just don't fully advertise or take advantage of, like this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have
Absolutely.
a
I mean, yeah.
game
Absolutely.
launcher
Yeah.
and you're not even talking about it when you
I
have
guess.
something like this going
I
on.
guess. I guess the problem would be is that I would still need the other game launchers to download to install the games. It's just that I can launch them through Discord.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like if you're gonna use Discord as your own like communication channel anyway, you're gonna
Mhm.
have Discord up and running already.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, like what have you been doing if you wanted to play any game through Epic or Steam? You've been opening up
Yeah.
your
I'd have to
Steam
open up
client,
the launchers. Yeah.
launch the games, and then you're like, oh shit. Now that I tell you that this Discord thing exists, you might like start pinning things to Discord, and because it just
Honestly.
opens
Yeah.
automatically, you don't have to
Honestly. Yeah.
add another startup task. You already have Discord opening up whenever you start your computer, so you might as well just go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I guess my problem would be with Steam and Epic specifically, like Blizzard and like the Uplay launcher, which is a Ubisoft owned launcher. Those aren't huge on the market because they Blizzard games will only launch or Blizzard launcher will only launch Blizzard games.
Yeah.
Um, the Uplay launcher will only launch Ubisoft games. Steam and Epic, they're both essentially competing for the same third party creator market space. And the reason why more creators are going to Epic is because they have a 88 to 12 developer split, which means that the developers get 88% of the profit while Epic gets 12%. In
Steam is
in
substantially more profit for Steam, right?
well, yeah, it's about Steam is 70/30.
70/30, yeah, which
70
is
30.
ridiculously high. But it's a better
Especially
launcher.
exactly. It's a better launcher, has better features, has a deeper catalog. But because of this split, developers are tending to go towards more Epic. And Epic isn't heeding the advice of improving its launcher because we have these exclusives, you're going to use them anyway, you know?
Yeah, that
Now,
kind of sucks.
yeah, ideally, Epic could use the Epic creators could use this as a way to spend more money on their games because they're going to get more money back. But that doesn't always happen, and that's not really how the world works.
Yeah.
Um, there's also the issue of Epic owning Unreal Engine,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
Unreal Engine is the method by which a lot of games are created. Um, so let's say you want to make a new Batman game and you need a way to build that game. And Unreal Engine is one of the best available engines to operate that game. You have to then go to Epic and ask them for permission. You get a license, and then you either put that game on Steam or you put that game on Epic. But if you
Yeah.
put that game on Epic, Epic is going to let you use Unreal Engine without you paying for it. So there's all these problems. Like even if you
Oof.
want to put your game on Steam, even if you're making a Steam exclusive game, you have to go then and ask your competitor for permission to use this engine. It just creates another monopoly situation
Yeah,
potentially.
that's rough. That's rough. Because the other kind of crux to that, right, is
Mm-hmm.
say okay, so like say I want to have a Steam exclusive game.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm already undertaking the 70/30 split over the, you know, more favorable to me, but say I'm promised something like guaranteed 1 week in Spotlight, right? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Then you're like, now you have other type of competition going on that's also, I don't know, is that like ethical? Is that an ethical issue, or like is that more
In
of a
in terms of being guaranteed spotlight, is that an ethical?
yeah, like okay, we don't want you to use Epic, like the
Mhm.
Epic launcher, and we can't really change on our split because this
If we
is,
change for you, we got to change
yeah,
for
we got to
everyone
change
else.
for everybody, right? But the
Yeah.
one thing we can guarantee you is we'll have you spotlighted for like a week. Like your game will be spotlighted for a week. That's how much we want your business. Um, but you have to use a different engine. You have to do all these other things because we know that if you're saying you're going to be a Steam exclusive, Epic won't give you permission to use their engine for this, or yada yada yada, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's not. It doesn't. I don't think that's an ethical issue. Coming from a law school standpoint, it's like a sucky issue. It's like, wow,
Well,
that
it is
sucks.
sucky. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Um, I compare it a lot to streaming in music. The
Oh, okay.
way Tidal, Apple Music, and Spotify all were trying to compete with each other for exclusives.
Yeah.
Um, Spotify wanted Drake to sign to Spotify exclusively. So you know what they did for a day? Every single playlist, Drake was the cover artist for even the country, the rock and roll, the folk music. Drake was the cover.
That's
It
amazing.
didn't work for them. He ended up, I think he ended up staying with Apple. Um,
That's amazing.
but that's exactly how it is. I mean, it's like Tidal is the company ran by Jay Z.
Yeah.
The streaming service ran by Jay Z, and that service is more favorable to the artist because the artists own more of the revenue. However, that service isn't as seamless or as effective as Spotify or Apple Music. So
It's also not nearly as popular in my,
exactly,
like, just personally. Like, I've never heard people being like, "Hey, yo, you check out that new thing on Tidal." Like, it's usually like, "Hey, yo, this thing's on Spotify or this thing's on
yeah,
Apple Music, whatever," you know. And then you're
hmm
like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just go to those platforms."
yeah,
Like,
exactly,
I think Kanye's
exactly,
the only one I've ever heard be like, "This is a Tidal exclusive,"
yeah, and we know why that
and
is,
we know why. Yeah, I
and
mean,
Beyonce, and for
yeah,
the same reason.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, Beyond. I mean, yeah, yeah.
It just like
It's it's just a big issue that
it's
it's
annoying.
developing more. It's annoying,
It's
and I
so
guess
annoying.
yeah, I guess that's something that I guess we can return to if more develops.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a big issue that I guess gamers are going through right now. It's like they're going through the same stuff that console gamers are going through. Like, oh, do you want to be an exclusive to Sony or do you want to be an exclusive to Microsoft?
Oh. Oh. Ooh, console gamers and their problems. Yeah, that's why you just buy a PC and you don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you spend $1,000 on a PC.
You spend $1,000 on PC and
A
well,
loud ass
speaking of
PC.
speaking
Yeah.
of consoles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The PlayStation, presumably PlayStation 5,
Yep.
released their details about uh, mostly specs, right?
Specs. Yep. A lot of
Mostly
specs.
specs.
Um,
The big takeaways, in my opinion, is
Ethereum,
8K resolution.
which we don't even know what that even means yet.
No,
Because
we know
how
what it means. It means it's stupid because the human eye can't process 4K, let alone 8K.
the human eye can process 4K.
No, I think the highest that the human eye can noticeably process
Mm-hmm.
is 1080.
1080. Really? From where?
Because you can see 4K.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you can't see it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that like the big differences that they advertise are not actually even really noticeable.
Are not as big. I mean, I guess you can kind of tell a 1080p a PS4 Slim running against a PS4 Pro,
But
depending.
can you just
But
hear how you said kinda tell?
yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a
It's very
PS4 Slim.
negligible.
It's negligible.
It's
So I
very negligible.
yes, the
So the
8K is a meme to me. I'm like, what does that even mean? What TV can run 8K anyway?
well, that's the thing. Is like that was the big deal when they were like, "Oh, we're releasing 4K
Mhm.
like quality."
Well, I
Everybody
will
was
say that
like,
4K television, I can tell the difference in 4K. I don't know about gaming, but 4K television, I can
"You
tell the difference.
so you can things definitely look a lot like clearer, but
Yeah.
it doesn't actually add anything that's like that also depends on screen size. It also depends on a lot of other things.
That's
So
fair.
it's
There are other
not
things. Okay.
like when you're talking about what's like processable
Hmm.
by like what human perception can actually do. 8K is literally a waste because
Well,
4K is already basically a waste, and so 8K is a waste times two.
I guess. Yeah.
If that's what you
Well,
like,
I mean, we'll
that's
see.
kind of what
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
getting at.
see. I don't know. I'm really curious to see because I don't even know how we'll be able to see 8K. Like, how are they
It
going to display it?
it's gonna be very negligible. You're not gonna really be able to tell the difference between 4K Ultra HD and 8K Ultra HD. The only
Mm-hmm.
way you'll be able to tell is in the promotional like advertisement videos that they'll run in Best Buys and shit like that,
Mm-hmm.
where you're looking at the 8K resolution TV and you're like, "Oh wow, I can see every drop on that waterfall." But then you're going to turn on your favorite TV show and then you're going to be like, "Oh wow, they don't have any fucking waterfalls." That's like you're I don't know. It's just it puts forced requirements on multimedia producers like television
Well, no.
studios, movie studios. It puts requirements on them that are extremely negligible to even have,
Well,
if
I
that
think
makes
you.
sense.
I think game developers and TV studios can create shows at whatever resolution they want. The TV itself will upscale
Yeah,
because even
exactly.
4K TVs will upscale to 4K, um, something that's 1080p.
But like I guess what I'm getting at is game developers will use the 8K concept just like they use the 4K concept
Mhm.
for optimization purposes.
Fair.
They will optimize their game at that resolution because if that resolution looks like dog shit on
Hmm.
their game specifically, you know how bad that's going to look? Somebody will be like, "I bought a 4K TV and I bought this 4K console. I bought this game that said it was going to run perfectly on 4K Ultra HD. I plug it in and it looks like I'm playing fucking 32-bit bullshit."
Uh, yeah, I hear you. I mean,
You know, like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, most of the games that have been 4K enhanced do look great. I won't lie. But
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. I know
I
what you
mean,
mean.
they look better. Like that's not, I guess, what I was getting at. It's more that to jump all the way up to 8K
I
resolution
don't even know
is
what that means. Yeah, I don't even know
genuinely
what that means.
ridiculous. It's
I don't
ridiculous.
even
Like it's dumb.
which most people who have reviewed these specs have been like, no one has any idea what does this even mean? You know
It's
what I mean?
almost like saying, "Oh, it'll be at Ultra Instinct." Like you'll just,
You'll just
that's
beat.
the resolution, and then you're like, "What the fuck does that even mean?" Like, what does it
Yeah,
mean?
I hear you.
No, the actual big hits is it's
Hmm.
going to have an AMD uh chip in it,
Hmm.
which like that deal to have like an AMD Ryzen in a console is going to
That's
be
pretty. Yeah,
insane.
that's pretty consistent with the current top models of CPUs.
Yeah, exactly. So like that in of itself is kind of noteworthy. Um
It will
The
have ray tracing.
yes,
Ray
the
tracing, yeah. So I'm curious to see how that will work because from what I understand, ray tracing doesn't necessarily even work super great on PCs. Um, which essentially, I guess it just makes light and shadows and just things appear to move more so like in the real world.
yeah, it's supposed to make things feel like I think it's predominantly a depth perception concept. Like it's supposed to add depth to
Mm.
layers and different things like that. So I think that that is pretty cool. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think the other big thing is that you will be able to play every game like from the original PlayStation all the way up.
So that hasn't been confirmed, although that has been speculated. We know for a fact the PS4 games
Backwards
will be
compatibility is
available.
what I'm really
Yeah,
getting at here, but
yeah, it will be at least backwards compatible with the PS4 because I believe the developers use a dev kit using Spider-Man for the PS4.
gotcha.
And I the PS2 is the most successful console of all time, but the PS4 game selection has been just stellar.
Well, I do have to say the PS2 came out with a lot of games and concepts that were so revolutionary. Like
Mhm.
I want to say the original Guitar Hero came out on PlayStation 2.
Oh wow.
And games
Yeah.
like that came out for PlayStation 2, which is genuinely ridiculous if you think about it. Like
Yeah.
Rock Band
Yeah.
and Guitar Hero,
DJ
two
Hero.
yeah, DJ Hero, those things were available on the PlayStation fucking
Yeah.
2.
The most successful system of all time.
It
Yeah.
also had like all the best Tony Hawk games.
Oh, I do remember my Tony Hawk games. Yeah.
Those were a big hit with me. It
I remember
had
Final Fantasy X was like my thing.
Final Fantasy was on there. It
Yeah.
it had um
I never had a memory card though, so I would always have to restart or leave my
oh shit.
PS2 on.
Oh man, the
Yeah.
memory card days. Oh baby. The other big ones, like notable ones, Shadow of the Colossus was on
Hmm.
PS2. Um, they had a lot of the Star Wars games that were pretty
Hmm.
cool. Um, and I want to say some other ones like the Spyros of the world and Crash
Oh yeah,
Bandicoots and
Spyro,
stuff
the
like that.
platformers, the traditional platformers
Yeah.
were built on Sony. I'd say
So,
like
in my opinion, it's actually dumb if you would ever dispute the PS2 being like the best
yeah, I mean,
console of all time.
yeah.
It's just
It's sold the most, so it's definitely like
it's
the most popular.
it's indisputable, honestly. Like
Yeah.
it's just like what? You're gonna try and give me any other bullshit? No, no, no.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. Other than those like few specs on the PS5
Mhm.
concept, I think the other big one is supposed to be better VR support,
Yeah, better
which
VR support, although you
who
will be
fucking
able
cares? Who
people, yeah,
fucking cares?
apparently I looked into it. People really have been like the VR sales are not bad at all. Like
That's
apparently
because
it's selling really
people are
well.
dumb.
People are dumb, but
People are
people like what they
dumb.
like.
Oh my
Apparently
god, dude.
apparently the sales for the VR are no joke, and apparently you're going to be able to continue to use your VR set from the PS4 over to the PS5.
Well,
So
that's
which is
good.
good because it's
That's
like two
good.
hundred dollars.
Yeah,
It's like two
that's
hundred dollars
good.
for the set. So that's super great
That
for
would be extreme horseshit if they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I know
you
you
gotta buy
just
this
bought the
one
most
plus shit.
ridiculous thing you've ever bought, but
Yeah,
we're gonna make you do that all over again, except for charge you a little bit more this time because it's only for the PS5."
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
god.
I'm super glad they did it. Not that I will be buying it, but I mean, I could see why people would want to play VR, but I don't want a full body experience when I'm playing video games. I
Some
don't want a
people
full body
really
experience.
do though. Some
Some
people
people do.
genuinely want to be in the video game.
People are we're inching closer and closer to Sword Art Online. Have you ever? I guess you never watched it, but Sword Art Online is like you
No.
go into the video game.
I don't fucking care. I don't
Yeah.
care to go into the game. I just want
Well,
to play it and
I would be
enjoy
pretty
it.
fun.
No, it would
Yeah,
be fun if it was done right.
yeah. Like you could go through, like it'd be like you could go and it'd be like the hyperbolic time chamber. Like 3 days would be like 30 minutes in your actual real world time. But
Now
like
the
that'd be cool.
the concept that will actually end up happening at some point, VR is going to become so good that it's
Mhm.
going to end up just being this wearable technology that you will not be able to dispute what's real and what's your video game,
Mhm.
and then we're all going to fucking die because of that.
Yeah, that'll suck.
That'll suck, but everybody will be wearing these robotic arms and legs, walking around with their VR headsets, and all of a sudden you'll try to take it
What's real, what's
off,
fake?
and then it won't be able to be removed, and then you'll hear, alert, alert, we have an escape attempt, and then you're going to be like, what the shit? No, that's going to be fucked up. I gotta say, though, the one thing VR has given me is a whole bunch of hysterical videos of people wearing VR headsets and falling because,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
like, I've seen people, like, trying to do these, like, rock climbing video games, and they get, like, up 3 steps, and then once they're up 3 steps, they just eat shit. And those are definitely the best thing that's come out of VR, is just watching videos of people eating shit because they can't determine what's real and what's fake compared to
Yeah.
their fucking headset. Like, come on, people, get a grip.
People out here wilding, bro.
Yeah.
My only concern, I guess, for the PS5, well, my major concern is hopefully it's not like $600 because no one needs another PS3 situation.
Well, it will be ridiculous.
I really hope not. I mean, from what
the
from
things
what I
that they're
heard,
putting in there, it's
Yeah.
going to be understandable that they're going to be charging like $400-$500.
that's fine.
easy.
Just don't charge 600 hold because that's what they did with the PS3, and it was a complete failure.
They might actually be able to get away with charging $600.
You have more of a reason to because of the back catalog, because of the reputation that Sony has built over this generation.
If
But
backwards
if they-
compatibility is confirmed, guaranteed in it all the way down to the original PlayStation,
Mhm.
charging $600 would be easy, doable, and they would still sell the fuck out.
They would sell the fuck out if they charged $800. It's just
Well, yeah, I mean, the nostalgia
it's-
factor alone will
Yeah.
get every single person who had an original PlayStation, a PlayStation 2, not so much a PS3. I don't think those fuckers will really care that much.
Mhm.
Or a PS4. They're going to be like, well, you mean to tell me I can play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and then turn on Spider-Man and like
Spider-Man PS4, yeah.
yeah, like within the same fucking 10 minutes of each other? Sign my dumb ass up. I would buy that just to play the old games. I wouldn't fucking buy any new games. I would be playing.
That's because you're dumb.
No, I'm not dumb.
Buy the new game.
No, because I would much rather go on and play like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, all the games
Yeah,
like that. That would be where I would get my money's worth, honestly.
the new trend is you can play those games. They just remaster them to make them better. Like the Spyro trilogy, they remastered it. There was a problem in the original Spyro that I remember. Controlling the camera was awful. They remastered it and made the graphics better, made the controlling of the camera better.
That's
You can
fine.
get-
I'm okay with remastering games, but I'm saying like if it were me personally, that's the shit I would buy this for, is to retroactively play the games that I used to play. Like, I'm an old ass man at this point. Like, you know, I would get it to play my old games the way they were, and I don't care if it's remastered or not, because
Yeah.
part of the nostalgia for me was how hard it was to fucking play
Yeah.
those games. And now
I get
kids
you,
these
yeah.
days with their fucking walkthroughs and guides, fuck you all. I remember sitting there staring
You
at
are an old man for real.
I
That's
am.
hilarious.
I remember literally like playing the original fucking Pokemon games and stuff like that. Not like I would
with
see
the-
other people having
It'd be
guides,
yeah.
and I'd
It'd
be
be
like,
so hard to have a light on the
you.
original Game
Oh
Boy.
my god, yeah, you had to like if the daylight shut off,
Yeah.
you had to like I said the daylight. If the sun went down, you were like, I can't see a thing.
Oh, what
and
a
then they
dark,
came
dark
out with those
future.
goddamn lights that hooked
Oh,
onto the
yeah.
Game Boys.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude.
Just put your light in the game.
Just
Nintendo,
put
what
it
are
in the
you doing?
game. Yeah. And they were like, no. Because we can make a lot more money if we sell these external lights that you have to stick on and use those batteries up. And then you have to buy more batteries. But it's okay. We have a rechargeable battery pack that you can also buy to enhance your your little handheld. And yeah, here you go. No, I am genuinely an old ass man. I love the old video games. I hated walkthroughs and guides. I frowned upon them immensely. I did not
You
care.
frowned upon them.
No, because like I didn't care if I got stuck on a level or something for like 2 or 3 hours when I was playing a Game Boy game, because once I finally figured out the puzzle or whatever, I was like, this is fucking great. Yeah, it was awesome. Ugh. All these younglings with their fucking guides and walkthroughs on their Nintendo DSs can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I hear you.
Ugh.
It was a dark time for me. I didn't want that. I don't want that at all.
I loved that shit though. Like it had a certain
It
the
was-
original Tony Hawk, right? The original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was so difficult. And I just remember watching like the intro video where they have somebody doing like a fucking combo and they're like freaking out. It's like this, like a pro developer who like made the game is playing it, and they're like manualing after they're landing shit, and they're like doing these 1,000,000,000 combos, and I was always like, oh my gosh, they're going so fast. And then I would try to do something and I would like grind on a bowl and fucking fall off and be pissed off. And then eventually they put in a feature in the Tony Hawk games where you could freak the fuck out with your character, and I thought that was great. Like those kind of things I loved. Oh man. Anyway, where were we?
Speaking of things you love, it's time
No,
to get-
because
time?
there's one other one I actually wanted to get into,
Okay.
because it's the one thing that we haven't talked about, but we've kind of been leading up to this entire time,
Let's hear it.
which is companies selling your data.
Indeed.
Because we kind of hit on stuff like that with the Netflix and like different things like that, but I read something today, like a tweet. I don't know if this was legit or not, but this like totally pumped me up for this for this concept, for this topic. Okay. So this tweet was retweeted by somebody I follow. So I'm not gonna quote anybody. Everybody's just gonna have to fucking deal with it. Whatever. This person said, I just boarded an international JetBlue flight. Instead of scanning my boarding pass or handing over my passport, I looked into a camera before being allowed down the jet bridge. Did facial recognition replace boarding passes? Unbeknownst to me, did I consent to this? Now, JetBlue responded to them. Okay?
Oh boy.
And they said, you're able to opt out of this procedure. Insert person's name here. Sorry if this made you feel uncomfortable. That was all they said. She responds, follow-up question. Presumably, these facial recognition scanners are matching my image to something in order to verify my identity.
Oh yes.
How does JetBlue
she's
know
asking
what
the
I
real
look
questions.
like? Yeah,
She's
exactly.
asking the real questions.
They said the information is provided by the United States Department of Homeland Security from existing holdings. See, so she says, so to be clear, The government provided my biometric data to a privately held company. Did I consent to this? How long is my data being held by JetBlue? And even if I opt out of the scanners, you already have my information, correct? Oh shit, it's getting real.
My God.
So
That's,
it gets even like worse, right? They comment back. They say we should clarify. These photos aren't provided to us, but are securely transmitted to the Customs and Border Protection database. JetBlue does not have direct access to the photos and doesn't store them. So she says, would love to know more info about how my image was matched to my name on the flight manifest. I looked at a camera and a few seconds later the gate opened. Was my image in the space of my image in the space of those seconds sent to Customs and Border Protection, run through a database, matched to my name, and then sent back to JetBlue in seconds. And they did not respond.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I don't know if that's real.
Yeah.
But I saw that, and I was like, that is fucking crazy.
That's fucking terrifying.
Oh, my God. That is scary.
Yeah. I mean, the government, whoever else, these companies, they obviously... A lot of what they sell is us.
Facial recognition at an airport?
That's nuts.
You walk up, they scan your face, and then you board?
Well, let's even bring it smaller than that. Something that I was creeped out about that's happened to me. I'm sure probably has happened to you.
Okay.
So I get an alert on my phone, even today, telling me, "Hey, I've never looked up this address before." Telling me, hey, it's going to be like 20 minutes for you to get to work today.
Oh, yeah.
I've never put that I work here ever on my phone. I've never looked up my address on my phone. But I guess because I have my whatever on or whatever, it's just like, hey, just so you know, there's like a delay. So you're going to be like a little later to get home today.
See,
but excuse me?
Okay, so I know that you just said that creeps you out. To me, when I first saw that, I genuinely my genuine first reaction was, "Oh, that's super fucking convenient."
That is convenient.
It's exactly what I wanted to know.
There's some pros, there's some cons. Yes.
I didn't like how it said going to work.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
But I did definitely like how it was like, "Oh, on your morning commute, there's going to be an extra 5 minutes."
Yeah, it'll even do that for me for when I'm going to school. Like, hey,
shit, dude.
You're going to school, so like.
Now,
here's what's happening.
the one thing, because there's so much data out there, the one thing I can kind of understand with that is, if, like, let's say the concept, like, I have Siri, right? You probably have, what does your phone use?
Cortana.
Cortana, okay. Yeah, there we go. That's another big one. I'm assuming that because they have the microphones and they're constantly listening, different thing like that. Like I hate when I say, "Oh, seriously," and then "Hey Siri" fucking spawns. Like right now, like I just said, "Oh, seriously," and my thing's popping up. Yeah, like it's popping up.
Alexa.
Yeah. I genuinely do not like fully like that, because this one time I said, "Seriously," like, and I was explaining this situation and I said, like, seriously, sometimes I just want to be like, "Siri, you're a bitch." And then it was like, that's not very nice. Like,
which means it's always listening.
It's always listening.
Like, it knows what you're doing. And that's the questions that woman asked are the same type of questions that I have. How long is this information being stored? How do we prevent breaches?
Yes.
Who is getting this information? How do we make sure that this information isn't leaving with the people who work at wherever this information is being stored?
The biggest one that comes to my mind is Facebook. Because Facebook has had a lot of issues
Mm-hmm.
A lot of issues, especially recently, with this kind of stuff. I want to say I read an opinion piece, like within the past 2 weeks, that was talking about, is 2019 the year you should shut down your Facebook account and quit Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
They provided the Royal Bank of Canada, Spotify, and Netflix access to everybody's personal messages. They have read, write, and delete access to your messages. That is fucking crazy. And I'll tell you why that's crazy. Not only because they have read, write, and delete permissions, but if you grant access for the Facebook app, like will bring up your Messenger app, right? And your Messenger app will say, would you like to allow Facebook to have access to your microphone and yada, yada, yada. So when you opt into those, that's why when you say, oh, I could really use a new wallet, the next day you'll get an ad on Facebook that'll be directing you towards these new wallets and different stuff like that, because you gave them consent to use your microphone so they can have it on at all times.
That just made me realize about something that happened. Me and Haley were talking about Monster Zero. I went through a phase where I was just drinking a bunch of Monster Zero. I'm still going through that phase. And the next thing I know, I'm scrolling through my Instagram and I see 3 ads for Monster, specifically Monster Zero. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is so weird.
I'm only telling you this because I think that what ends up happening more often than not is that we give consent without realizing what
because
we're
no
giving.
One's reading all that nonsense.
Well, yeah. No, that's the biggest lie that anybody ever tells, is I've read and agree to the terms and conditions that are laid out here, that everybody checks those boxes. Everybody says, I agree.
Yeah, and you'd think me being a law student that I'd be like more careful about doing that, but you would think, I don't have time for that.
But
I just
no one has time for that, and I get it. I don't either. I hit accept as well, but I do try to read the little blurbs that come up on my phone whenever apps are asking for data. Because typically they're asking for access to your camera and access to your microphone. And if you give them access to your camera and to your microphone, they will pick up on things that you take pictures of or speak about, and they will use that for ad data. And they will sell that to advertisers. Like, for instance, right? You're just talking about this Monster Zero. I'm going to tell you an even freakier concept. Me and a coworker are both really into stand-up comedians. Okay? He sent me a message saying Nate Bargatze, who's a stand-up comedian, that he wanted me to listen to. I went home, opened up that message, turned on my Netflix, and the first thing that was advertised to me was Nate Bargatze.
That is so weird.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are pros to it in terms of, okay, it's convenient, but I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, it can be very unsettling. I mean, like in that case, I got a text message that said that. I never uttered the words Nate Bargatze near my phone, and here the first thing that's advertised to me is Nate Bargatze. And I'm like, that is fucked up. But then I see this concept that Facebook gave away access to my personal messages and stuff like that. And I'm like, I instantly thought it meant my text messages, my personal text message data. What it really meant was my Facebook Messenger data. And I was like, well, he texted me this. He didn't even send it in a Facebook message or anything like that. So how the fuck did that even happen?
Yeah.
Where or when was that comedian's name said to the point where I was able to just see it all of a sudden on my Netflix, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. It's terrifying. It's crazy. It's ultra convenient, but it's ultra terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we are the product on Facebook. That's what they're
Oh
selling.
yeah, they're
Selling
selling
us.
us. They're selling
Yeah.
us. The
I
other
read an. Go ahead.
real quick, the other thing, did you hear about when the Amazon Echoes were originally being announced? The scandal and shit like that with them?
Yes, I did. The how they were recording us.
Not only were they recording you, but when like there were actual claims where there was a person talking to his wife, and he
Mhm.
said, "Oh, I think we're out of diapers." And then the next thing that happened was the Echo saying, "Would you like to submit your order for more diapers?" And
Oh my god. Yeah.
it was like, "Hey, I already pulled it up, like your typical order that you get monthly or whatever.
Yeah, for
I have that
groceries.
in the checkout. Would you like
Mhm.
to buy it?" Right? And I thought that was fucked up. And now
Mhm.
all this news, and that was like a couple years ago. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You can only imagine how much more advanced Alexa is 4 years
Yeah.
later,
Honestly.
right?
Yeah, and it updates all the time.
It does.
Have
Shit's
you
freaky.
have you watched Joe Rogan's podcast at all?
I have not. No.
He had Elon Musk on, and
Okay.
he was talking about AI and how he's gone to talk to Congress to try to like get them to regulate this more because he's like, if we continue at the rate that we're at, it's not going to end well.
It's going to be dangerous.
So if that guy is worried about it, I'm worried about it. You know.
I was worried about it before that guy was worried about it. No, but that's because he has experience with like dealing with people like Zuckerberg, who I don't know if you heard about the Facebook bots communicating to each other.
I did hear something about that.
So, for those of you who haven't heard, I want to say it was like a year or two ago at this point. There was a, s- a AI study that Facebook was trying to do where it was trying to teach AI to make the most efficient deals for themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the whole concept was, I believe, a trade of some sort. One AI had 3 apples, the other AI had like 5 oranges. And there was like a script or whatever that the AIs were supposed to go off at first, and then they were supposed to try and make up their own deal to get the most efficient deal that was the best for that specific AI. Whether that be like trading 3 oranges for 3 apples or trading 5 apples for 3 oranges, what is optimal for me? Where do I get the most benefit?
Mhm.
Um, Eventually, through the AI's learning and going through, they developed their own communication where they were using code, the AIs, that was deemed to be more efficient by making like sounds rather than saying like 3 apples for 5 oranges. It was like 3 3 3 3 5, and then
Mhm.
they would make a deal from that. Like it would get accepted on the other end.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if that was the actual script or like transcript that was read off, but what it amounted to was these two bots speaking in code and actually making a deal in a code that they developed on their own
I can't have
with
that.
no other interaction, just machine learning in this capacity.
I cannot have that in my world. I can't. I cannot have computers learning by themselves to do things like that. That's
It's
scary.
crazy.
It's iRobot. I don't want that. Thank you.
It is iRobot. It's definitely it's escalating at a rate that is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Speaking of AI, there's this thing in gaming. Dota 2 is a very popular video game. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. Well, not only have we talked about it on this podcast in the concept of gaming, but now we're going to talk about it in the concept of AI. There is a research development center that actually was part owned by Elon Musk called
Mm.
OpenAI that created super bots to be able to play Dota, and they just beat the reigning international champions 2-0 in a 3-game series at a
That's
live
incredible.
event. And then OpenAI decided that they were going to take on the world and see what they could do. They won over 7,000 games. They only lost 42. They had a 94 or 95.4% win rate over the course of like 7,000 plus games.
Wow.
Okay. AI can learn the most complex video game that I think is out there. Like
Mhm.
it is deemed to be
It's
one of the most
it's one of the
complex
most
games,
complicated games.
and
Yeah.
that's why Elon Musk decided to tackle Dota instead of
Yeah, I've
any
never
other
heard
game.
this.
And it like 2 internationals ago, they released the first OpenAI bot, which was just a 1 versus 1 Shadow Fiend mid, and it beat Dendi on TI's stage.
Wow.
Then the last TI, they did a OpenAI versus uh, a team of like, I want to say it was like 7K or higher players, and
Mhm.
it beat the 7K players. But then it played against one of the top teams, and it lost to the top team. But then it just now, after a few more months of machine learning, played against the reigning TI champs and beat them clean sweep.
Wow.
So that's how fast it's progressively learning, and it is alarmingly fast to be able to learn one of the most complex games out there, let alone
Mhm.
be able to shit stomp one of the best teams out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just ridiculous, but it's progressing fast, and there it's 5 individual bots playing the characters.
So not only are they learning the game, they're learning to play with one another.
They're learning. Yes,
They're
it's
like a
it's
fish. Like it's just
learning
one.
teamwork.
I bet. Yeah, I bet you it's just like one big machine how they run.
It basically is, but it's all through individual machines, and how they machine learn it, how they train it is they actually have 5v5 bot games
Mhm.
where there's 5 open AIs on one side versus 5 open AIs on the other side, and they have simulated, I want to say, a couple 100,000 years of Dota,
Wow.
and that's like, and they've done this within the last like 2 years or something like that.
Huh. That
It's
is so weird because it's like things like you just have to have instinct for, like when to go in the roach pit and stuff like that.
Oh, you don't
Like,
need an instinct, you just need a number.
yeah, I
You need an
guess.
algorithm, you
Yeah,
need a timing.
yeah, yeah, I
And
guess. Yeah.
that's, they actually, at the most recent one, it's a really genuinely awesome watch if you go back and watch the video of it. They have a screen up that shows everything the AI is seeing versus everything the humans are seeing. And the humans are seeing the visuals of the game, and like its player perspective on each of the the team members of OG, and the bots are just reading numbers, and it's
Hmm.
just series of numbers and coordinates and points, and that is the most powerful way to play the game, is all through these
Yeah.
numbers.
The
And it
percentages, algorithms.
really shows, the thing that I think is the biggest takeaway is it shows how much human emotion drives the decision making within a complex series of thoughts, like a game of Dota. In a
Yeah.
game of Dota, you are thinking about 50,000 different things, and if your mind is in a, like, let's not even go negative here, let's go positive, right? Let's say you are feeling so confident in your team's ability right now to take an objective that you are overestimating your power level, and you're
Mhm.
not factoring in what you've seen from power spikes on the other team, right? because the original downfall to the OpenAI was they were saying it's almost not fair to compare an AI like a machine to a human when it comes to reaction time, because a script is instantaneous.
That's true.
A human has an actual delay, even if the fastest reaction time is not going to be faster than a
Yeah, I mean,
0.0000001
even from
second
getting something
script.
visual to your head,
Yeah, there's just no
becomes
way. No way.
yeah.
So they were like, strictly mechanical skill, it's not even a comparison to compare humans to the bots. The real comparison is when you go into the thought process, the actual decision making process. And the concept that the bots really nail that humans just can't remove from the task at hand is the emotional factors. Oh, guys, I think we're strong enough, we can push high ground right now. The bots just know, and then they do. And when the bots do not feel comfortable anymore, they back out and they leave and they go take up other resources because they're like, it is in our better interest to take up X resources because we know that the humans right now cannot do that. They can't get out of their base anymore. So let's go farm their jungle. They had mega creeps and they weren't ending the game because they were like, we have all these resources that we can still deprive the enemy team of, so we're eliminating the chance of a comeback, right?
Wow,
AI is fucking crazy.
that's nuts. Yeah.
So yes, anybody out there, I strongly recommend, if you want like a very interesting but very freaky at the same time AI concept, go look up OpenAI. It's Elon Musk's bots that is taking on the hardest video game that's pretty much known to man. I mean, it genuinely is one of the harder video games out there, just based on all the decisions and things that have to be
The
made.
variables, lots of variables.
It's a variable intensive game that is extremely difficult to master, and this project really shows how incredible machine learning really can be.
And how
So
terrifying it can be.
it can
Yeah.
be terrifying, but if you were to dedicate these kind of teamwork resources on, let's say, a cure for cancer,
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
then fine, go for it. But be my guest, right?
Mm.
But if you are, say, I don't know, doing this let's make the most efficient deal concept, that's where it's extremely terrifying.
Oh yeah. I mean, everyone wants to weaponize intelligence. So
Oh
let's
yeah.
say use AI to create the next super effective super effective weapon. Yeah, and then it could be dangerous. I don't know.
Yeah,
In
there
terms
needs to
of
be a lot of rules put in
yeah,
place
it was
on
exactly
on
what
a very universal scale.
yeah, exactly what I was gonna get to. In terms of data, there's some regulations that I saw. Um, from Europe, the European Union's general protection requirements lay out rules for data capture, storage, usage, and sharing with companies, and it also levies high penalties for those who fail to comply. Um, could face up to 20 million euros in fines or up to 4% annual revenue, whichever is higher.
Jesus.
Yeah. And the Data Privacy Act also made it to the US in the form of the California Consumer Privacy Act. It requires it requires it essentially it almost makes it a necessity that companies give you the option to opt out of them storing or selling your data.
Which is very fair.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
At least give
very
me the
fair.
opportunity, even though I might not necessarily read everything, but I at least want the option. You can't just
Yeah.
do it without my permission.
The option
Consent.
is definitely it's very imperative, honestly.
Yes, consent. I'd like to affirmatively consent to you recording this information.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
That's pretty much all I had on the.
Yeah, that was awesome. I learned a lot.
I mean, yeah, no, it's a very cool, like, cause that's kind of my biggest double-edged sword concept with it is it's a very cool concept,
Yeah,
but it's also terrifying.
yeah, because we've seen this before. We've seen these movies. We know how it ends.
We've seen the
So
sci-fi,
exactly, but
but
also it is cool. Like,
but
do we
it's
just
it's
enjoy the ride?
definitely cool. Yeah, do we just enjoy iRobot while it happens, and we hope that one of them actually develops a real feel?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
what can we
and
do? Like I said, Elon Musk is afraid, and if Elon Musk is afraid, I am afraid. But until
Okay,
we get to
so
that point,
to that point though, Elon Musk is afraid, but Will Smith is still alive.
that's true.
And he lived iRobot.
He did live through iRobot.
So,
I guess we gotta just like split the difference.
yeah, I mean if we lose one of those guys though, we have to shut her down.
Oh yeah.
Just a full stop. We need to shut it down.
All right.
If Will Smith or Elon Musk is gone, we need to shut this whole shit down.
All right, we're gonna AI recall.
A- AI recall. Oh God, that's good. That's good. Oh
Awesome.
man. All right,
So
we can do it if you want.
we can, if you want, we can just save it to another time. It's up to you.
No, we can do. Because I'm kind of curious what you actually wanted to ask about it. So
I'm just gonna say a bunch of bullshit I'm sure you've already heard before.
okay.
So this
Oh
topic,
great.
this topic, we're gonna talk about the state of
The
artifacts.
state of artifact.
So the reason I want to talk about this, I don't know. I think I heard you talk about Twitter. It was on Twitter. Yeah, I guess I saw you reply to someone saying something to the effect of, "I don't know what to do now. Now that my all my artifact homies are gone," or something like that. And I forget what you said. You were like, "You've been playing Dota," and then I was like, "Yeah, Drew's been playing a lot more Dota lately. I wonder what that's about."
Okay. So we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Basically, in a nutshell, Artifact had a really bad launch. Um, Artifact's launch was so far removed from what was anticipated or expected that essentially Valve kind of came out and said that they have had the biggest disconnect between their expectations and the actual events that unfolded for a launch of a product of a game.
Mhm.
Basically, they put out this game with a pretty how do I describe this? There was a couple key concept issues that people were not willing to back down on. The biggest one
I will
being,
be discussing them soon.
well, I mean, I'm kind of already going to, but
Oh,
I
go
mean, do
ahead.
you want to get into it?
No. You go ahead. I will also add my 2 cents because like I said, I'm doing this topic just to piss you off. So I'm gonna do my best to try to
I
piss
know,
you
and fuck you. So cuz the problem is a lot of the core issues that other people have with the game versus my issues with the game are vastly different.
hmm
Um the biggest takeaways are RNG
hmm
and the monetization model of the game. Those were
Okay.
the biggest factors of the negatives that people reamed into Artifact for, and it was basically what it amounts to is Artifact's been a game since November, and since November it lost 98% of the original player base,
hmm
which is
So it started around 60,000. I think it hit.
60,000 was the peak
Was the
concurrent
peak.
players, which
Yes.
was at any given point there would be 60,000 people on. It currently sits at about 200.
Yikes. Okay.
Okay.
That's not good. Yeah.
It's definitely not good. Um Now the reason why is they released the game without features that they bragged about being in the closed beta, like replay features, um, free draft mode, all these things. And they also didn't give a microtransactional free way to play the game. So there was no like free way to earn cards on launch of the game. Now, everybody compared this to Hearthstone, which is entirely free to play, which we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Because I'm another person who dropped a lot of money on Hearthstone and can tell you that game is predatory and definitely not free to play at any stretch of the imagination. It's not. Don't even try to act
Yeah,
like you can have fun on a free to play account.
you definitely could.
No, you can't.
You definitely
It
could.
is a joke among streamers to actually have free to play accounts to show how shitty it actually is.
You can make.
You
Well, I
cannot be
don't know. Depending on the
competitive.
meta,
You cannot be
you can
competitive
make
in
an you can
any
make
standpoint. No, you can't.
you can make an aggro deck based completely off
Oh,
of
okay, that's
playing
fine.
games.
And that would never get you to the point where you could actually win money on a free to play account. I don't
Win
care
money.
what you say. You could not be competitive. You could not play in a Hearthstone Pro League on a free to play fucking account. It's
That's fair. You can.
impossible.
Yeah, that's fair, but you can make legend or whatever.
Oh yeah, you can make
You could be
legend, and there are
successful,
definitely memers
but
who
there.
do that, but they also win 100% of their games, or like 99% of their games. The average player who's trying to make a free to play account, is going to be grinding their life away, and they're going to be okay with it.
Hmm.
And I don't get why people are okay. Like, time is a very precious resource to me. Okay. I would rather spend the money, get the cards, get what I need, and have fun enjoying the 15 minutes that I can sit down and play one of those games. Whereas other people are okay with slaving for hundreds and thousands of hours to earn
Some
3 cards.
some people don't see it as slaving. Some people enjoy the like me personally. I didn't spend a bunch of money. I enjoyed opening a pack and being excited to see what's in it,
And,
and I
and that's
enjoyed
that's
playing with the
totally
cards I had
fine,
and continue
but
to
I'm
evolve.
saying that I used to get shit for buying all the cards
Hmm.
by friends of ours who tried to do like predominantly free to play accounts,
Yeah,
and they would get salty because I had all the cards and they weren't willing to spend the money. But the thing was, is like I had a million other things to worry about, so I didn't want to invest all that time.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, everyone's different strokes for
Every
different folks. That's
everyone is
fine.
different, right? But
Yeah.
people are spoiled by the concept of Hearthstone, I think. Honestly, it's too good of a like of a free system that
I
it's
think
it's definitely spoiled the digital card game market in
I
my
think
opinion.
I think Artifact created problems that its competitors did not have. Because even
Artifact,
outside of that, there's a whole pay. You have to pay just to play.
you have to pay to play, but that's because you can sell your cards back. If think about this for a second. If
Hmm.
Artifact was free,
Hmm.
Um, and you could get on and earn all the cards for free. At the beginning of the game, Axe was the most expensive card. On the Steam market, it costs $37 to buy one Axe card. If I could earn 10 Axe cards for free, I just made $370.
That's a big if.
No, but you can do it if you have 10 bots that are grinding away on free to play accounts that are just earning the daily quests and rewards to get these free cards. The paywall made sense in my like from my perspective because
Hmm.
the Steam market exists. In Hearthstone, they don't have that. Your cards, you buy them or you earn them, they instantly lose 75% value. You cannot get any Steam bucks or V-bucks, Hearthstone bucks. You can't get any Blizzard dollars from that, where you can buy shit in their other games that are not free to play. I can't sell all my Hearthstone cards and buy a character in Heroes of the Storm, can I? No, you can't.
Say that again.
In Hearthstone, I can't dust all my cards and buy 10 characters in Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
I can't do that. In Artifact, I could sell 5 Axe cards for $37 and buy 10 other video games.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's extremely fair. That's why it wasn't free.
I mean, you have to...
because the Steam market exists.
You said you have to have it. And also, the Steam market does fluctuate.
So it does fluctuate.
Now that the game isn't as popular, everything has lost its value.
Well, yeah, everything has lost its value, but that was not... They did not want to artificially lose the value by dumping a load of free cards into it.
Also, they could have just made these cards not sellable.
They could have, but then they weren't using... Well, no, it didn't solve the issue, because the way they make a lot of money off this was they take a % off the Steam market. So it made sense for them to let you trade the cards and sell the cards, because they would take a cut every single time. From a business perspective, that's a genius way to make money.
If people are willing to pay.
And at first, people were willing to pay. The other thing that ended up being a big drawback to that kind of monetization model was their actual mistake, which was paying to play what was perceived as the ranked play. They did not release the game with a ladder. Okay? They still don't really have a ladder in the game.
So no real MMR.
So no visible MMR. There is still no visible MMR. That is my biggest criticism of the game.
And you'd have to pay to get those cards.
You had to pay to get the cards, or you had to pay to play the what was called expert play. It was released being called expert play. So people associate expert play with ranked. Even though when you read all of the fine print, every single game that you played added to your ELO style MMR.
Okay.
But people didn't fucking get that, or I don't know why people missed that. I got it. I understood that. But it seemed like the rest of the world doesn't get that.
Because in most card games...
They have a ladder. They have a ladder.
And the ladder is what people really care about.
Yeah.
So even if that was the case, then they should have made a separate MMR system.
And they definitely should have. I am not disputing that. I still want that. Oh my God, I still want an MMR system. I want to be able to see if I'm in the top 1% of players and know it not only because I'm playing against the top 1%, but because I'm visually able to see that I'm in the top. I wanted a leaderboard, right? Everybody really wanted a leaderboard. That mattered for a lot of people. Now, the thing where Valve and Richard Garfield went wrong is they were... I mean, and it makes sense why they went wrong, because Richard Garfield created Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a paper card game. They tried to mimic a paper card game on a digital platform. They did not try to remake a Hearthstone. They tried to remake Magic online.
But there's no pay for entry in Magic.
Yeah, there is.
Is there
if you want to, yeah, you have to. You have to go to Walmart and buy the cards or whatever.
You have to buy the physical cards.
And if you want to go, like what they were trying to mimic on Artifact was like the concept of going to your local card shop and playing in Friday Night Magics. You pay $10 or whatever, you open up a sealed pack of cards, you play with that pack of cards, and then at the end of the night, you take those cards home. But you had to pay for them, right? I mean, you paid the $10.
But then you're paying for actual cards. Now I have to pay just to get in to be able to pay for more stuff. You see the problem?
Well, no, I know the problem. The real problem was that there was also no way to freely earn cards. The only
Okay.
way to
Yeah.
earn cards was
Yeah.
by either buying them or buying these tickets that were like discounted card packs, basically.
Hmm.
Now, Richard Garfield actually just went on a podcast to talk about Artifact like
Yeah.
this
I
week.
did. I did. I did.
Okay.
Hear a little bit something from that.
I listened to the whole thing, and a lot of the key points that were brought up in there were directly related to the monetization model.
Hmm.
And when you listen to them, it like the thought process still makes sense. The paywall, okay, let's say $20 is just bad, right? Let's say to buy the initial game you have to pay
we don't have to
10.
just we don't have to just say it's bad because the result we have the result
Well,
of what it was.
we have the result, but like in my personal opinion, I didn't think $20 for 2 decks of cards and the what was it? I think you got 2 full pre-constructed decks. You got 10 unopened packs and 5 event tickets.
But
So
when you
10
buy
unopened
cards,
packs is $20, 5 event tickets is $5. So you're already getting $25 out of value out of the 20 that you spent, and you're getting 2 full constructed decks.
yeah, but when you buy cards, you can still buy cards that you've already got in your pre-constructed decks, unless I'm mistaken.
No, you can, but you can also then, just like in Hearthstone, you can do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a pack
Yeah, but
of
you
cards
don't.
and you open up a
You,
pack of cards, you can still get commons and you just dust them later, right?
yeah, but your standard in Hearthstone, your standard cards that you get, it don't not the ones that come in packs. You get certain cards, the one board rush that has what's it? The first turn it gets on the field, it goes right. It can go right to the opponent's
Yes,
life points.
there is
There are
a
cards that you cannot. It doesn't matter how many packs you open, you cannot get them. You will just have them. You
yes,
cannot
and I get that, but you also like I just want to break that down for you and say how often are those cards, solely those cards, a list of an actual competitive deck.
But not everyone wants to be competitive. Also,
No,
not some people just want to play
but
for
see,
fun.
that's
But you're
also
right.
the big
Yeah.
difference between Artifact and Hearthstone. Is Artifact was initially publicly perceived to be released as a competitive card game.
Hmm.
So if you're not willing to take the heat of being in the competition, then get the fuck out. And they did. People did. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people did. But I think that a lot of that was due to Valve decided that they were going to take the standard Valve approach of doing small updates, balanced type updates. And they never addressed any of these bigger issues.
The monetization. There's also the issue that it's and I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
There's the potential that the market is already oversaturated with digital card games, with Hearthstone, with Eternal, Elder Scrolls, Duel Links.
They okay, so yes,
also
there are a lot of very popular digital card games. I think the core gameplay of Artifact, what is supposed to actually make Artifact stand out, I think does. There is no other card game that is nearly as complex, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it does actually feel more like a real-time strategy game than a digital card game. I love that, and I love that factor.
Okay, so there are a couple points there. Yes, the game is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting.
No,
here
I
to
know
try to
you're trying to make me mad, and I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's just great content. You know,
no, it is good content. It's good.
It's I like the fact that the game is probably the crispest looking in terms of card games. It's probably the best looking card game.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and it's also
and it functions well.
It functions very well. The UI is designed very, 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 very well.
Yes.
If you don't understand anything that's going on, I think once you understand some of the core concepts, the UI makes it that much easier to understand what's going on, with even the design of red X's on what's calculated to die on that combat phase, to even little nuances like if you sort your cards by draw order, it sorts your opponent's cards by draw order as well. All these things that are normally built into deck trackers and Hearthstone, stuff like that, were just integrated into the UI on launch. I thought that was amazing.
That is cool. I still think that the game it appears intimidating, and it appears like it's a little bit more, like you said, it's more complex.
It is.
It's more complex. So that's an issue because
it doesn't appeal to casuals. And
exactly.
and the casual,
and it's not connected to like a TV show the same way
like Yu-Gi-Oh is or whatever.
Yeah, because Yu-Gi-Oh, to me, Yu-Gi-Oh is one of the most complicated
it is
ever.
Yes.
The fact that I watched the show helped me to understand when it was time for me to play.
Yeah, no, Yu-Gi-Oh is fucking complex.
Yeah, when I used to play competitively, having to try to explain to a new person how to play who has never even watched the show was the biggest fucking chore in my entire life.
That's honestly how I felt playing games like Pokemon TCG and Dragon Ball Z TCG. Like that shit was extremely complex to people who didn't get it already. And I'm sure if I played Magic more, it would have been the same for Magic. Like I've had Magic explained to me countless times, and I'm still like too nervous to even really go for it. And I know how to play Magic. I refuse to because I'm nervous about it. It's very complex. And I play Artifact. Yeah. And that's a complex game, you know? But like to me, I think that with any new experience, you're going to have some semblance of a learning curve. And I do think that you're right. It is pretty intimidating. And how Valve could have addressed that is put in custom game modes that were no timers, simplified, different thing like that, right? I can totally get behind that, like the whole concept of like the Innkeeper in Hearthstone, right? Or like those mini series in Hearthstone that you can earn cards. Now, I think that just because it was not released with that does not mean that that was not in the future plans.
Yes.
But because the release went so poorly, I think that people didn't even give those concepts a fair chance.
I mean,
because people have made mods, custom modes of Artifact that you can go in and you type in the console and it brings up puzzle mode. There is a puzzle mode, like they probably could have put in a real life, you go in and create your own puzzles mode. That would have been great, and clearly it's out there because people have done it and used it, and there's YouTube videos of people playing through these puzzle modes that were created by other users. But people just, like, here's where I get pissed off, is people heard so many bad things about the game, bought the game just so that they were able to actually review the game poorly, and then they got a refund for the game. That's the kind of shit that's been going on to inflate those bad numbers.
Yeah,
I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, but I don't know how often, I can say for sure how often that is, or how often people just don't like the game.
Well, it's probably in the data. You can probably see how many people have bought the game and then refunded it within the first week.
Yeah, I mean, that's
also left a bad review. The data is probably out there, and if it was out there to the point where Richard Garfield brought it up in an interview, then I'm assuming it probably happened notably enough to the point where it actually damaged the game.
Yeah,
it could have been even a couple hundred times, but that's still a percentage of times where people were getting refunds fully.
But how many people are actually, they get the game to try it out and they genuinely just did not like it, and then they get the refund? That's something that the data is not going to show.
That is something that I think that it would probably have to be like length of subscription to the game or length of purchase, right? if it
but
was
you have to
after a
to get a
certain,
refund. You have to. I guess you have to
you have to own it for
return it
X
within like
amount of
2 hours,
days or
right?
return it within X amount of
I think
days.
it's like you can't play 2 hours of games on if you play at least 2 hours, then you can't get a refund. I think it's how Steam's
I
supposed.
forget the Steam rule or like the actual
Yeah,
point,
because I
but
just had to return a game recently.
yeah, I think that is definitely BS. I
Hmm.
think that if you want my real hot take on it,
Okay.
um, because I'm a content creator for it, right? So I think
Hmm.
that this is where we can actually get into the skinny of things, and this
Hmm.
is where you won't see me really get heated, in the sense that I'm not mad about it,
Hmm.
but I think that this explains a lot, and
Hmm.
it's a take that I have voiced to several other community members and have gotten some relatively uh, good and bad feedback on it. Like,
Hmm.
because some people are like, I've just never thought of it that way, but I can totally see that. And other people are like, nah, that can't be right. But it's a real thought. Um, Content creators were in the beta. There was
Yeah.
a slew of content creators, uh, people like Creparian,
Hmm.
people like Swim, Hyped, these pro players and content creators, people like Sir Action Slacks and Suns Fan, all the way to people who got contracts to play Artifact before the game even came out, right?
Beta testers
In
and whatnot.
all the beta testers, right? But it was a list of people who were pros slash content creators, and they were chock full of exclusive content just waiting to be released. And for people like me, that sucked because I didn't have a closed beta key. I was
Hmm.
not able to play the game for hundreds of hours, or in
Hmm.
some people's cases, thousands of hours. And I was not able to create exclusive content to have. And I was not able to do all these other things that these people had advantages for. Real life competitive advantages were held by these content creators and pro players. And I think that when you release a game and there is 250 people who currently already have thousands of hours dedicated into this game versus when you release it to the masses and you say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to have a $1 million tournament, right? We're going to have one
Hmm.
of those in the first quarter of the year." Um doesn't that sound like complete and total not fair bullshit for those 250 people? They have
Yeah.
such a huge advantage already,
Yeah.
that
I
not
mean.
only are they set in content, but they're set in the competitive scene.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, there was a lot of people who, like me, wanted to start their content creation dreams in Artifact. Like, I was not a streamer before Artifact.
Yeah.
That was my plan. I wanted to stream. I didn't necessarily care if it took over as my full time job or anything like that.
Hmm.
I just knew it's a card game, it's a Dota card game. This is what I've been waiting
Yep.
for. This is what I love card games. I love Dota, and they are combining the two, and sign my ass up. Sign me up, and I am going to work my ass off, and I am going to play as much as I can. I'm going to stream as much as I can, and I'm going to, if not be competitive in this, I'm going to cast
Hmm.
in this. Which I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
And there was so many people who had this pipe dream of quitting their day job to become Artifact pro players or Artifact streamers. And when this competitive advantage was presented right in front of them
Hmm.
to these other people, they were like, that's fucked up. That's bullshit. I hate this game because look at all these other people who are already so far ahead of me.
I mean, it's hard for me to agree with you because it's 250 out of the 60,000 people who played, and
I mean,
also people
sure,
are like
it's
all those other
250 out
people.
of those people, but guess how many content creators are still putting out artifact content right now?
I can't imagine too many.
Yeah, want to know why? It's because those people who weren't willing to put in the work are not there. If you
What do
are
you
not
mean?
Capitalist, the Dota caster,
No, but sure.
he casts a lot of Dota with Blitz. He's really popular. He's one of the top tier Dota talent in
Hmm.
the whole scene. Well, he actually was invited to cast the first go live tournament of
Hmm.
Artifact, right? And people were raging that he was able to go cast it. They were like, "Why? You're not an Artifact talent.
Hmm.
You aren't." He's like, "Because I've worked my ass off for the last 7 years in esports, that I have these connections, that I'm able to do this." And he was catching a lot of flack, and he went on stream to say, I'm sorry if you are offended by me being able to cast this artifact event, but if you want to cast an event, go cast an event. If you want to do it, put in the work like I have for the last 7 years,
Yeah.
instead of just expecting to be able to quit your day job and start being a streamer the day a game comes out. Like, it's an unrealistic expectation, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think that there was a lot of people with those unrealistic expectations. I mean, I think in our text messages, I had muttered the words, "I want to be the Creparian of Artifact," right? And how
Yeah.
can I be the Creparian of Artifact if Creparian is fucking being that?
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
it feels daunting, right? But I'm
Yeah.
still casting Artifact, right? I'm still there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still doing it. Even
And
though
I
I don't
think
have a big following, I'm
yeah.
doing it.
I think that problem still exists in anything though, regardless of what the medium is. Like if you be becoming a YouTuber or us doing this podcast,
Yeah,
how many
exactly.
other podcasts are there?
There's
You
a
know?
billion, right? But
Yeah.
we're sitting down, we're recording
I'm
them,
looking at
we're
this.
actually
Yeah.
doing the work, right? The
Yeah.
the people who are shit posting and leaving the game and leaving bad reviews and being like, it's not fair because all these, because that was another big concern in the
Hmm.
Reddit community and stuff like that, is there were too many people with competitive advantages and they didn't think it was fair, and they whined and whined and whined. And
Hmm.
when they were trying to stream the
Yeah.
game and they sucked at the game, they just blamed it on bad RNG.
There
When
is a lot of RNG in the game.
no, but there's a lot of RNG in every game,
Yeah.
and
It's just
the elo ratings actually show that the better player wins more often than not in Artifact.
yeah, I believe it.
and and the fact that the only thing is the fact that we couldn't see those elo ratings is where the mistake lies. If you just made those elo ratings visible, the MMR visible, and you
Mhm.
saw that the top 1% of players won 80% of the time, 90% of the time, then you could be like, "Oh, well, that's why they're up here and that's why I'm down here." Right? You can visibly see that in the numbers, in the 1,000 point difference that exists in the elo rating after the first week of data, let
Yeah.
alone months of data. It probably
Yeah.
got to be a 6,000, 8,000 point elo spread, like
Yeah.
a traditional MMR system, right? But
Yeah.
because we couldn't see that, it sucked. It hurt. It hurts me. I want to see my numbers, like I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
know it.
And just like you said, like the complexity of the game is the point that I was thinking about earlier is yeah, it didn't have the initial ability to go in and create these custom games and do things like that. Um what's the most popular game in the world right now?
Uh, League of Legends, right? Or
Besides League?
Fortnite. Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah,
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
One of the things people complained about Fortnite for so long was that you didn't have the ability to go in and practice building.
Well, my biggest complaint about Fortnite is there's no fucking tutorial. You just
Yeah,
get thrown into
exactly.
the game, and I don't
Exactly.
know how to
Yeah.
play the game.
Exactly.
Oh
Until
God, I hate
Fortnite
Fortnite.
decided, yeah, I'm not a Fortnite fan either, but Fortnite decided to implement those things. It just didn't come out with those things. It also, I don't think they expected to be this big, honestly.
Oh,
But
definitely
outside
not.
of that, outside of that, I guess, but people enjoyed the content so much that even though it had its problems, it was willing to stay. And stay and
Well,
wade
but
through them,
that's
which
because Fortnite also was able to address some of the other big concerns at a relatively faster rate. Even
like
though
what?
those were some of the I mean they balance the game pretty well. And they're
I don't
constantly
know how much
balancing.
balance. I don't know how much balance you can do to a battle royale system game.
Well, they balance damage on weapons and
That's fair.
they balance
Yeah.
these concepts where they're like, "Oh, this fucking gun is broken." And
Yeah.
they tweak it and stuff like that. And those are the kind of things that stop people from playing a lot of the times
That's
is
true.
how fair do I
How
feel
broken.
while I'm playing,
Hmm.
right? Is it the person who lands in a certain spot first wins the game every single time? That's not very fun. Then
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
just going to go
That
try
makes
and land
sense.
in that space or whatever it may be, right? But the thing that I think Valve has done very improper is the the things that they tried to fix to keep people worked for that little brief period of time, but then it quickly lost its luster because the bigger things that you're not addressing are
Are the bigger
the
problems that
bigger the
are driving people
problems.
away.
They decided to, instead of tweak the monetization, instead of tweak the RNG, they tweaked card balance, which had some positives to it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, they're willing to balance cards and make things not broken, and they're
Hmm.
willing to buy back my cards that I
That's
invested
another
in."
problem too, though. That's another problem too, though,
But they
because
were
if
willing
I
to do
spend
that.
$37 to buy an axe and then you rebalance axe and now it's not worth
But
$37 anymore,
they sold
that's a
it.
problem.
They did a buyback of those cards.
Hmm.
When
So,
they nerfed them, they bought
mhm.
back the ones at the current market value for everybody who did it within the first like 48 hours or whatever.
so
It was at
would
that 48 or the pre-nerf value.
so you would get the money you would get that money for what you actually paid for.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
then,
spent $37 on it, right? Or whatever.
mhm.
And then that they nerfed it. As long as I acted within that first 48 hours, I got my money back for that card.
Okay.
So if you invested in Axe coin and bought 10 axes and then they nerfed the card, you were able to sell back 9 axes for 37 apiece and you got your money back and you
Does
didn't feel
that
cheated.
does that include like if you opened up an axe?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Well, that seems fair.
You just had to act within the time frame.
Hmm.
And that was a big thing, and people really liked that. They thought that that was honest and very nice, and like it they were like showing that they weren't trying to totally dick you over.
Hmm.
Because if Axe stock drops from $37 to $25, then
That could be a problem too, though. Even if they don't nerf an axe, let's say they continually the mutations are coming, right? That's a new thing that are coming to the game, or am I wrong? Mutations.
well, I mean, I think that they're gonna actually either there's
Well,
two
you want to get to
paths.
that. You want to get to that
I
in a
mean, we're
second.
running on close to 2 hours, but yes, I can
Okay.
get to that really quick. I think one of two things is going to happen. The last update that they released said that we are going to not release any more updates. That we are currently still working on it, but it's going to take a significant amount of time. I think the last time they said that was when they were talking about Half-Life 3, which was like 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
this
they're
game dead.
so it's either the game's dead or we're going to have to wait like 6 months to a year to
Mhm.
get a kind of Artifact 2.
Yeah, because I know Richard Garfield had left, and now he's just
But
kind of an advisory role, right?
Richard Garfield and Three Donkeys left because at the time they fulfilled what they were supposed to do. They don't stick around for these projects.
No,
They design the
independent
game and then they
contractors.
sell it off and
But
then they
also, from what I understood, they before this happened, they only had a skeleton. They dropped some employees to the point that they only had a skeleton crew remaining.
they dropped. So yes, and there was a lot of speculation around this kind of stuff, But if you think about it, when you need to overhaul a game, why
Mhm.
would you keep the same people who thought that it was fine even after it was clearly not?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you know that did they hire anyone else, or it's a new designer, a new
Well,
lead?
the way Valve works is not like your traditional company.
Mhm.
It's a flatline structure, which means anybody can work on any project.
Okay.
Which is why I'm worried about them never releasing another update, because there's a also real world possibility where people are like, fuck that game, we're just never going to touch it ever again, and then nobody picks it up and does anything with it.
Which I assume, which is probably be my assumption personally.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of people's assumption.
Yeah.
In all
Just
honesty,
because
it's the biggest concern.
it
Now,
would it would take a lot to convert people's opinions and to draw them back in my opinion.
I think that there are some things that you could do that would do that pretty much automatically.
Hmm. I
Um,
think the paywall system honestly, even if it makes sense to them business wise, I think people
I
aren't going
I
to
agree. You can
delve
make
that
it
deep into it.
you can make it free to play. I get it, but I would stick away from predatory microtransactional
Hmm.
core concepts of how you make your money on the game, like
Yeah,
Hearthstone does.
yeah,
I would stay away from that. That is predatory. I do not like it. I do not respect it
yeah.
because
I
I was
mean,
a victim of it. I was a
yeah. I
victim of
mean,
it. It
can
was
you?
annoying.
I know. Like you said, we're running on. Can you explain what you mean by predatory microtransaction?
Like in Hearthstone, yes, I can play. I think a pack is 100 coins,
Hmm.
and in order to earn 100 coins, I think you have to win 10 games,
Hmm.
right? And they cap it at you can earn 300 coins in a day, which is winning 30 games in a day.
300 coins in a day. Well, you can also do the quest for the day, and that'll give you like 400 or
Well, I
something.
mean, like 30 wins coins within a day.
Okay,
Like they
yeah,
cap that, I believe. Like you can't play for 24 hours consecutively, win 150 games, and get 1,500 coins. I don't think you can do that.
yeah, yeah. You're right.
Um, so there's this free way to earn these coins, but then you can also just buy packs of cards for bundles that are quote unquote deals that
Mhm.
you're getting more than what the coin is worth in a sense, right? Like
Mhm.
you're buying a
Yeah.
pack.
Even though they create the value
Yeah,
for
they create the
they
value.
create the value. Yeah, they're the ones who decide what the value is. But I see what you mean.
But then they also, like, whenever a new expansion comes out, they release bundles where you can buy 50 packs for $50,
Hmm.
and uh
And I've never been to that because it's just that it just was never my thing.
well,
To
yeah, it was never your thing, but you also enjoyed the grind of playing the games, whereas
yeah,
me, I rather,
until I didn't anymore.
well, yeah, until you didn't anymore. Me, I really didn't value the
That
money as much as
experience.
I valued the time. Like I really like cuz to me the only fun things about Hearthstone were playing the ranked ladder and playing the the limited mode,
Hmm.
which is arena mode. Um in arena mode it cost either coins or real money,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you would win back relative to how much you put in and how many wins
How
you
well you
got.
did. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
would win certain benefits, which was the same exact system that was put into place for Artifact. The
Hmm.
only difference was you could not earn those tickets for free at first.
Hmm.
In their
And there was the
first,
paywall to begin with.
well,
So.
okay, yes, and there was the paywall to begin with, even though we can argue about that forever. I still think the reason to have the paywall is just because smurfing and having multiple accounts where you can sell them for real life currency, just like they do in Dota. People have Smurf accounts. They create a whole bunch of this inflated MMR. They sell it to other people who are account buyers, and they ruin other people's games.
We know one.
We know one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
But you could have that where you're farming free things with bots, and then you sell them you sell an account that has a full collection for whatever the market value is at that point, which could be $300. You could just sell an account for $300 that you grinded on a bot for 24 hours.
I understand.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous if you think about it that way.
Yeah,
and it's to keep people like that out. But you know that those services would have developed instantaneously if that paywall didn't exist. Especially when you have the concept of the Steam market and how you can actually watch the market price of a full collection. Even if you're selling a full collection at $100, which is what it currently is, versus $300 when it was at the release, right? Yeah. You are looking at people who can create scripts that, I ran into bots while I played games of Artifact. I ran into what was clearly bots because they would cast cards before I even really got mine down. I would play my card and theirs would already be played. And it was just way too fast that a human mouse drag could not do that concept, right? So I don't know. I just, whatever.
Yeah, there's that issue. But we already talked about it. But they also could have done like a dust system instead of being able to sell.
Yes, they could have. They could.
There's also at launch they didn't have a mobile, which I feel like most players that even play Hearthstone are going to do it on mobile.
Oh yeah, I think mobile is one of the things that could save the game or bring it back. I know a lot of people who would probably play if it was on mobile.
That's the issue with that also is the Apple Store and Steam are not particularly the best.
Which is why it didn't launch with a mobile version. I think they have all the code for it to be a mobile version, but they can't get it onto fucking Apple.
Yeah.
So
and for those of you who don't know, I guess Apple doesn't necessarily want another marketplace on its system, and that's kind of like what Steam is.
Valve wants to have Steam as the way you can download Artifact on your Apple device, and Apple is not a fan of that. So I think that Valve, instead of releasing it for just Android users, which they could have done.
They should have done.
Should have done.
People release stuff for just Apple or just iPhones.
Yeah, no, it's totally a thing, and they could have actually done it, and it probably would have led to this game not being such a dramatic failure. But where I think the biggest issue lies, in all honesty, and this is where I think a lot of people, you'll probably disagree with me just based off what you've read, but I think that at its heart, Artifact was supposed to be a social game where I would play with my friends and not necessarily worry about a ranked ladder. And the social features within the game were not developed well enough at launch to make that the feel behind the game. I don't think you picking it up for the first time would ever think, oh, this is a game I'm supposed to play with my friends like I did with Magic or whatever.
Yeah.
Because the social features just weren't there on launch. There wasn't a chat feature at first. There was not any real easy way to friend request people when you played the game with them. There was not really the tournament system that was built in was good, but it wasn't as crisp as I think they kind of talked about it being. All the social features that they wanted to really highlight didn't have the effect that they thought that they would. And they have not done anything to make those the standout features. And I think that was the biggest problem. Like a mobile version, like the tournament system being a lot better, like the ability to add people right away, or have a voice chat with your opponent in game. Like they could have easily done, but they didn't.
To me, it did seem like they were focusing on esports.
Well, because they kind of were.
Yeah.
They kind of were.
Even down to them announcing it at TI.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like, okay, here's this game, and I honestly think that they thought this was going to explode.
And I think they did too. And I think that as an esport, it could have. I really do. I do think I think the potential's still there. I think if they release the right updates next and made the right steps, they could not only revamp the game, but they could revamp the whole pro scene, and everything could actually be salvaged. I genuinely believe they could. It's just a matter of if they will.
Yeah, I think in order to get some of those fans back, you are going to have to need some of those content creators.
I definitely think you do. I think that you need mobile, I don't think you need free to play. I think you need to strip the initial paywall of $20, but I don't. I don't think
free to play is all is the paywall is my major concern. What you're saying makes sense. It's just that from looking outside, looking in to a regular casual person, they're gonna be like, I can't play this casually. If I buy this, I need to actually play it all the time. Or like, you know what I mean? I need to. I feel.
No,
like
I get it.
You know,
I understand the general concern. I think that that's geared towards a more casual mindset. Now me, when I was talking about I'm gonna be a competitive player and stuff like that, money did not even cross my mind. I knew that I was gonna buy the whole collection no matter what it cost. I knew that I was going to buy the game no matter what it cost. I knew that all of this.
How much does buying the whole collection cost now? I think it.
Right now it's like $80. It's something really, really cheap. When I bought it, it was $300.
Okay.
Was what I bought it at, and I honestly didn't think that was unreasonable, because if you look at that comparatively to other games like Magic or Hearthstone, it was immensely cheaper, and it still is. It is. There's actual data to prove that. So don't argue it.
No, it is. But the thing about like,
and if I wanted to, I could buy a deck that I wanted to, and I don't have to buy through packs or grind or whatever dust, this 25% value dust. I don't have to do that to get the deck. Like if I want to play Freeze Mage in Hearthstone, I need to have every card for Freeze Mage. If I want that in Artifact, I could just go buy it for, it's probably $15 right now. But if I wanted it in Hearthstone, I might have to spend $50 to get that deck, or $50 worth of value in dust to get that deck. And people don't consider that predatory. I do. I think that's what I'm really getting at. That is predatory, because I cannot just go buy a deck of cards that I want to play. Say, forget buying a whole collection. Forget buying a whole collection. I want to play that aggro deck that you're talking about, right? In Hearthstone. Okay? If I want to play that aggro deck, I need cards like Leroy Jenkins, which is a legendary, right? If I were to buy a legendary card in Magic the Gathering or Artifact, right? An Artifact's not really good. Let's say it was an Axe in Artifact. It would have been $37 to buy the one card. In Magic, there's some cards that go for $600, and people don't bat an eye, right? But in Hearthstone, if I wanted to get Leroy Jenkins, I have to dust 1,600 worth of cards, which could amount to a whole collection of commons, right? But I'm still doing it, and then I'm going to spend $50 to get the other pieces of that aggro deck. and I get all this other random shit that I'm going to dust for 25% value to try and also get that aggro deck, all for
Yeah.
one deck, right? Whereas an
Yeah.
artifact, I spend $15, I get that deck, and now I can go play that deck for as many times as I want.
Yeah, I mean,
And when I'm done with that deck, I can flip it and buy the next deck that I want.
I get that. I can't say like Hearthstone has its own problems. Like I'm not here to defend Hearthstone.
It does, and Hearthstone players are spoiled, more spoiled than they know.
Yeah.
And I think that if you look at the actual, and I'm sorry, I keep talking over you and stuff like that,
You're
but
good,
I
you're
am
good.
heated now, and I'm fucking pissed, and I want to talk about it, even though we're way over time. I really
Yeah.
do want to talk about it because it means something to me. I am mad that I love this game. It's a beautiful game. It's a great game. And everybody shits on it for literally the dumbest fucking reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Hearthstone has its own problems. I don't really know too much about Magic. Coming from my background of Yu-Gi-Oh, I know just for that you can specifically some of those cards run for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But the game is so vast that if I don't have that card specifically, then I could potentially have a card that is similar to it that's substituted, but maybe isn't as good. So it's like the budget version of that.
And
so that's another thing that it has advantage of it. Larger cards, or there's more cards.
but
in
that's
other
the
games.
thing. This was
But-
the base set
Yeah.
for Artifact. You can't expect
exactly.
that. That's what
Exactly. It's the base set.
expansions
You
are
can't really
supposed
expect
to
all that.
do. And
Yeah.
people need to just, like, if they release a free-to-play version that still has some paying to it to
Yeah, like
to
if they have a
win or
free-to-play
whatever.
version, but you don't get a deck, you just have to go and like
Yeah.
get your own deck or something.
that would be fun. Like strip the free to play. Like, if you download the game, you should not get any of the rewards that people who paid for the game got. Like, you shouldn't get those 2 decks. You should not get the 5 event tickets. You should not get the 10 packs. You should get literally the base set of cards, whatever that may be, maybe minus some of the heroes. I would even be okay with that. Like, if you didn't get all the rare heroes or whatever.
And here, grind until you get
And-
these heroes, or pay for them.
Yeah, or
and
pay
that,
for
and
them.
that'd be a lot better system to me, in my opinion.
No, it probably would be a lot better system in a lot of people's eyes. And I'm fine with that. Like, I'm not salty that I had to pay. Right? That's kind
Well,
of what
I venture to say most people are not this willing to spend as money on this stuff as you are.
competitive players are. And I think that
Competitive players
that's
are. Yeah,
where
that's true.
that's where you have to kind of separate me. Is my mindset going into the game was I'm competing, full stop. So, like, that's why it doesn't matter to me. It's not that money doesn't matter to me. It's that the money that I was going to spend on this, I saw a way I could earn it back and more based on knowing my ability in card games and my knowledge of card games. I expected to be in the top 1% of players, maybe 5% at worst, like was my goal for myself, right? I wanted to be top 1%, so you need all the cards. I don't care who you are, you need all the cards. You can't make it in the game without all of the cards, and that's how it is for a lot of card games. You can't make it in the game at the highest
Start the game,
competitive
and-
level.
Expansion comes out and you gotta buy all.
Yeah, and I was fine with that. I literally was okay with that. So the money aspect to me, I don't want to really harp on because I'm not a casual, right? But the concepts I can relate to the casuals on is the custom game modes. I think was needed at launch. Some kind of Tavern Brawl-esque system or Innkeeper-esque system I would have been totally fine with. But the biggest other thing,
Or like some type of system where you can experience the cards that you can't have.
well, they
Card you
have
do
that.
Yeah.
They have that. It
Like
didn't.
the-
Now, granted, at first it wasn't released for free, which was bullshit. And then they fixed that. They released it for free, and they kept some players because of that. And then people kept losing. And they were like, "Oh, RNG sucks."
Do you think it was a situation of make a good first impression and it made a bad first impression?
No, I think it was genuinely Valve was too prideful to listen to their audience.
Mm.
I really genuinely believe that if they would have
Yeah.
if they would have listened to the core concepts that were raised when they were raised and did something more at the time, because they did include new freeways in their first update. They included freeways to earn cards up to a certain level, and if you look at the value that you actually get from it, it is insanely good. And I am baffled that that didn't keep as many players. They did add the free draft mode where you could experience the whole collection even without paying for anything. They did some of these things, but the things that they didn't address were putting free cards in the free modes that like Hearthstone has. Like in Hearthstone, you earn the coins you don't have to play arena to earn coins, right?
Yeah.
You can play standard play and get coins, and that's free to play, right?
Yeah, even the tavern system.
Yeah,
or
the
not
tavern system, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's a
innkeeper
great
system,
example.
You can, if you beat all the heroes, then you get
You get a
100
free
coins for
pack
each.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or when you play Tavern Brawl every week and you get one win in Tavern Brawl, you get a pack of cards or whatever it may be. There was no free way to earn cards other than grinding your profile level, which was done through any play, tournament, expert play, or standard play. So that was kind of their way to combat this, but people were like, well, what if I get a perfect run, which is 5 wins before you lose 2 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were like, if I get a perfect run, don't I deserve at least a pack of cards?
Yeah.
And Valve didn't do that.
Yeah.
If they would have done that, I think they would have kept probably 50% of the players. Honestly, I think you would have gotten 45% more casual players, easy. And then there would have been the remaining 3% of competitive players who were losing stream viewers who left the game. I genuinely think that's where a lot of the stuff left, was because some of those issues that were raised were just not taken seriously enough.
So it wasn't just the first impression then. It was like, here's the issues, here's the audience saying, hey, these are what the issues are, and Valve just being like, nah. Pretty much.
No,
And
no,
also,
not Valve being like, nah, Valve being like, silent.
okay.
Because it took them 2 months to release their first big update. Then it took them 3 months from their first big update to be like, hey, we're still working on something. Hence why there's not a lot of faith in the game being revived, is because it took them 3 months to be like, hey, by the way, this is going to take a significant amount of time.
Yeah, and
you could have just said that right up front.
Yeah, to be fair, they haven't made a game since Dota 2.
Well, they're also very shitty at communication, which me being a Dota 2 person was okay with that and fine with that, but you had people coming from Hearthstone, people coming from Magic, people coming from all these other games, not just Dota, or not just things that are involved with Valve. So those people were not ready for that.
Yeah, they expected a certain level of candor that Valve just did not.
Because Valve doesn't have anybody who handles PR.
Yeah.
They don't.
Issues to be squared off.
They really do have a lot of big issues. But we don't have to harp on it forever. I think we should end the show because we're way too deep into this. We're 2 hours and 24 minutes in. And I feel like we definitely went way over, and we were not expecting to go this far over. If anybody is still in at this point. You know, this is one of those lengthy pods. Maybe we'll put that in the description so that you know to break it up if you were a dedicated viewer of ours, which I know that there are several who listen to us a lot. So I do.
It was a fun conversation.
It was a fun
I'd
conversation.
Like to get you fired up. We gotta do this more often.
It was fun. Part of me almost wants to break this into 2 pods. I think that we actually might do that, honestly, because this has been a long ass pod.
Yeah, we could.
And because we didn't do one last week, I think it would be totally fine to release 2 in one day or whatever.
2 in 1 week, yeah.
So we'll split this up so that if you want to hear the State of Artifact talk, we will have the Artifact part of the podcast probably by itself. And if you want to hear all of the other topics today, we will release that as well.
Absolutely.
Mike Seaside, 2 things.
Oh my God. Hats or caps?
Wait, actually, time out. Before I do the 2 things, let's do 2 things twice because this is going to be 2 episodes.
Good.
Boom. All right, so hats or caps? Hats.
Okay. Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon?
Holy shit. Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Yeah. All right.
Still, I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Well, you know, I had to give my best. First 2 things for you. Witch Doctor or Visage?
Fuck you.
Yeah,
hard,
baby.
but,
I know it's hard, but you got to do it.
I'd probably have to go Witch Doctor.
Witch Doctor. Oh, yeah. Look at it go.
Old reliable.
Old reliable. Second 2 things. Ravioli or gnocchi?
Ravioli. Easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
easy.
surprising. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the show.
All right. Awesome.